I am talking. Awesome.
Hey, I've got that next one in just a few minutes. I'm going to feed you back the court video. Give me your report. Just, I'll tell you, this power's up. I can't stop in here, so we're going to be silent. So, I have a look at the video. Thank you very much. The cell tower is busy. I won't be able to get a connection. I have too many people accessing the internet or cell phones right now. It's not going to do. Look, there are too many people online there, okay? I can't give you a picture because I can't get it on air to you. Unless I give it to Sammy, who's got a signal up. And he's feeding FaceTime Live right now. Too many cell. Yeah. I'm doing it now as we're speaking. It's not working. I gotta go. Yeah.
Good morning. As most of you know, I'm District Attorney Lisa Green. To my right is DA-elect Cynthia Zimmer, and to her right is Sheriff Donny Youngblood. This morning, former deputy sheriffs Derrick, Penney, and August Logan were arraigned on an indictment handed down by the Kern County Grand Jury on September 5th, 2018. I would like to thank all of you in the media for your patience and understanding that due to the rules surrounding the secrecy of grand jury indictments, neither myself nor the sheriff were able to make any public comments until the arraignment that took place this morning. Also, I hope you will understand, as with any pending case, that I am limited in what I am able to talk about today. Mr. August was indicted on 15 felony charges. The charges include 1 count of conspiracy to transport marijuana for sale, 5 counts of second-degree burglary, 5 counts of transportation of marijuana, 3 counts of filing a false police report, and 1 count of failure to report income from drug sales. If convicted, Mr. August faces a maximum of 15 years in state prison. Mr. August was arrested and booked on September 7th, 2018. Mr. Penney was indicted on 7 felony counts. The charges include 1 count of conspiracy to transport marijuana for sale, 1 count of second-degree burglary, 1 count of transportation of marijuana for sale, 1 count of failure to report income from drug sales, and 3 counts of filing a false police report. If convicted, he faces a maximum of 9 years, 8 months in state prison. Penney was arrested on September 6, 2018 by the Ada County Sheriff's Department and booked in Boise, Idaho. He waived extradition on Friday, September 7, 2018, and was booked into the Kern County Jail last evening on September 10, 2018. In September of 2014, Logan August and Derrick Penney stole approximately 25 pounds of marijuana from a Kern County Sheriff's Office warehouse following a marijuana grow eradication operation. This did not come to light until it was publicly announced by the U.S. Attorney's Office that prosecuted that case. And the announcement at that time was that the two had pled guilty to federal charges for that activity. The two were sentenced to probation on August 7th, 2017 by federal judge Lawrence O'Neill. The prohibition on double jeopardy does not prevent dual prosecutions when each prosecution is by a separate sovereign. This is known as the separate sovereign doctrine. Thus, a criminal defendant can be prosecuted by a state court and then by a federal court, or vice versa, as is the case here, first by a federal court and now by a state court. It is this separate sovereign jurisdiction that permits the Kern County District Attorney's Office to proceed with the prosecution of Penney in August. After the federal plea and sentencing last August of 2017, the Kern County District Attorney's Office Public Integrity Unit began a year-long investigation into the activities of Logan and August. The investigation revealed other criminal activity, which is the subject of counts 5 through 15 described in the indictment. We would like to say that if anyone in the community has any additional information regarding this case, we would ask them to contact the District Attorney's Bureau of Investigation at 868-7603. I would like to thank Chief Scott Tunnicliffe and the Kern County District Attorney's Office Public Integrity Unit for their dedicated and thorough work on this case. And I would also like to thank Deputy District Attorney Garrett Rice for his work on this case. I will now hand the microphone over to Sheriff Youngblood, and at the conclusion of his remarks, we will take questions.
Thank you very much, Lisa. I just want to make a couple things very clear here. The questions that I've been asked the most in the last 4 or 5 days are these duplicate charges, or are they the same charges? And you have to understand how we got here today. When this case first started and the feds came in and did their investigation, when they completed their investigation and the two defendants pled guilty and were sentenced to probation, we continued the investigation in the Sheriff's Office because we weren't through, and we wanted to make sure that we had uncovered everything that had occurred and everyone involved. And in this particular case, deputies in the Sheriff's Office came forward and articulated more crimes that had occurred and more things that had occurred, and I authorized them to continue that investigation. We then contacted the feds, invited them back in to complete their investigation because we did not feel that they had thoroughly done the investigation the way we wanted it done. They chose not to come back in. We then went to the district attorney, Lisa Green, asked her if they would conduct this investigation, and the integrity unit then took over and followed through. So it's important that you note that this is not just a case of federal charges and the exact same charges now being charged in state court. There are new issues and significant issues in this case that will come out in the very near future. So with that, if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer those questions for you, if we can.
Are you able to say what those new significant issues are?
I think that the DA's office, it's appropriate for them to respond because they did the investigation. We just uncovered some things. Deputies in the department uncovered things. And, you know, it's also important to understand that when someone betrays this occupation, this uniform, this badge, we don't take it lightly. We go after them. I was asked if this is about the sentence that they received on straight probation. No, it's not. Did I think that was an appropriate sentence? Absolutely not. I think that we should be held to a higher standard. And so this investigation, when we went after it, we put 100% effort into it. The DA's office obviously put 100% effort into it, and they've spent the last year uncovering numerous things in crimes that have occurred.
Did it reveal, is there anyone else who is suspected of any wrongdoing in this, or is it just limited to these two deputies?
As I said in the very beginning of this investigation, we will not stop until we're sure that we have everyone that was involved in this. And so are we through? Probably not.
Well, you said that there is new evidence and new charges stemming from different crimes. It seems that this still falls under dual sovereignty to some extent, which does seem to be very rare, and your time in office is coming to an end soon. Was this a tough call for you to make, to commit to pursuing this?
No, it wasn't a difficult call. Obviously, as I indicated, the investigation started actually over a year ago, and I think the public expects accountability and transparency. And if there hadn't been any additional evidence of any additional crimes, perhaps we would not be standing here today. But they committed additional, or alleged to have committed additional crimes, counts 5 through 15, address those crimes, and people should be held accountable, and especially the deputy sheriffs who are betraying the public trust and engaging in criminal conduct. They shouldn't be treated any better than a criminal on the street, and quite honestly, perhaps they should be held to a higher standard, but that's not even, what we're talking about today. We're hoping to hold them accountable. That's why we've filed these additional charges, and I think that's what the citizens of our community expect from the district attorney's office.
Just so I can clarify, when you say 5 to 15 are the new charges, August has 15 charges. For Penney, is it just 5 through, like, the rest of them? Because he does not have 15.
Right. I'd have to look at there is a copy of the indictment, I think, do you have that already? Okay, when you leave, we'll have that for you, but it'll indicate what the charges are. It will. I believe the counts 13 through 15 do involve Deputy Penney, and then I can't describe what the other ones
There's
are.
a copy that's
There are.
Is there a state investigation into Diaz and Mara as well, or do you feel that your office, as well as the Bakersfield Police Department, was satisfied with the federal investigation in that case?
Well, we weren't a part of that investigation, as the sheriff indicated today. This office was not a part of the initial investigation into Penney and August. That was conducted by the FBI, and the federal government had a jurisdiction on that. But going back to your question on Mara and Diaz, from what I'm aware of and what I know of that investigation, it was quite thorough. And we had no reason. I do want to add to the sheriff's remarks that we did not limit this investigation to just Logan and August. It was thorough, and we looked at other people who perhaps could have been involved in criminal activity in the sheriff's department, and we did not find any evidence of wrongdoing on other deputy sheriffs.
In talking with August's attorney, he's saying that this is vindictive, and he feels that you guys just want to see him go to prison. What are your remarks to that?
I think his exact words were, this is an abuse of power on my behalf. And I want to be very clear. There is an abuse of power involved in this case, but it's not from me. It's from two people wearing the uniform, wearing a badge, that abuse their power. And I have no sympathy for them.
My response would be, as I've already said, that we're not talking about prosecuting two people for crimes they've already been prosecuted for. There's additional evidence that was uncovered that suggests they were involved in similar type of criminal activity And I will say, in response to what Mr. Torrey said, that we are talking about not 25 pounds of marijuana, but 350 pounds of marijuana. So to suggest that this is vindictive either suggests that he doesn't know the full extent of his client's behavior, or that he's just playing to the media.
How difficult is it to prosecute a case like this, given that they are sheriff's deputies, and you are asking the other sheriff's deputies to explain what they may or may not know when it comes to finding out what actually happened?
I think when this case finishes up, you'll understand we didn't have to ask deputy sheriffs to come forward and to explain themselves. They voluntarily came forward because this is their profession, and they took offense to this as much as I did. And when a police officer, a person of trust, violates that oath in such a reckless manner, we're talking about seizing drugs, stealing drugs, and putting them back on the streets for our kids and our children. I think that every deputy sheriff that you'll run into would take great offense to that, and they came forward on their own.
Can you give us any details to this new evidence that has come to light? Is it different than what they've already been charged with? Is it kind of more the same? I know you can't say too much, but what can you tell us about those new evidence?
Well, you can see through the charges. Count 1 is a conspiracy that deals with that's similar to counts 1 through 4 are similar to the incident in which the federal government prosecuted them, but the charging is similar, so the conduct is similar, and as I indicated, the extent of the conduct that we were able to uncover does suggest that it was not only 25 pounds, it was an additional 350 pounds of marijuana.
Has the DA's office ever had a case where the criminal acts have also, at least partially, been prosecuted on a federal level?
Well, not this office, not that I could recall, actually, but I was expecting a question like that, and that's a good question. The only really high-profile case that I can point out to you, which I would refer you to Rodney King. He was prosecuted in state court. He was acquitted, and then he was prosecuted federally. He was indicted and prosecuted, and he was convicted 25 years ago. I'm sorry, the police officers were convicted 25 years ago. So, that's an example of a case that's not exactly the same because they were convicted, but as I said, the law clearly permits us to move forward on charges like this where there is evidence of alleged criminal activity, additional criminal activity.
Well, the additional 350 pounds that we discovered, we had two choices: do nothing or prosecute. And I'm telling you that we will always prosecute when we are dealt those cards.
Do you think you would have still filed charges against them had the investigation not turned up evidence of additional crimes?
I can tell you, if we would have found no additional crimes, we would not have gone to the integrity unit of the DA's office and said, we need help doing this investigation. But like I said, we have two choices. We discovered additional crimes, and we can allow them to get away with it, or we can conduct the proper investigation and do what we did. And I'll always choose number 2.
As November approaches, Cindy, where do you stand in all this? Are you going to continue the fight? What happens in a few weeks?
If the case is not resolved before January 7th when I take over, I can promise you that the new administration will continue to vigorously prosecute this case.
And for the sheriff, have we updated any kind of protocol for property room and the way that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Every time we have an incident like this, we obviously go back and look at our procedures and our policies to see if we're doing something wrong. But remember this: when you have 2 people, or in this case at least 4 people, who conspire to commit crimes, you can have all the policies and procedures in the world, and they're still going to find a way to circumvent those and conduct the crimes that they did. So this isn't a policy and procedure issue. This is an ethics issue.
When you say at least 4 people, are those 2 other additional people you're referring to, Diaz and Mara?
Yes.
Is there any significance to you guys going through the grand jury? We really don't see that much here with criminal cases.
That was the decision made by the deputy district attorney in consultation with his supervisor, And so there really is no significance. We probably do 4 to 6 indictments a year, and this, part of it, just seemed to be maybe the most expeditious way to move this case along. It's already an old case.
And there won't be a preliminary hearing because of
No. And the transcripts of the witnesses' testimony will possibly be made available. It'll be a subject of litigation, but it could be available 10 days after the defense attorneys receive the transcripts. So that will be litigated, and if they're made public, then they'll be made public.
Sheriff Youngblood, what's the feeling inside of your office right now? I know in talking to you back when this first happened, you said it did kind of shift a bit.
Well, obviously we feel betrayed. I mean, anytime you have people that you trust and 100% that would never do something like this, and they do, it obviously shakes you to your core and makes you start second guessing what we actually do. But I can tell you this, that we hire from the human race, and you get human beings, and sometimes you have people that either are corrupt when they come to work or they become corrupt. And all I can tell you is that we deal with those as efficiently and as harshly as we can, because we feel extremely betrayed.
And you said earlier on this news conference that this might not be over. So are you guys still actively investigating, or?
Yes. There are criminal investigations, there are administrative investigations, and we are still looking at to make sure that we have cleaned house.
We've heard that charges have not been filed against Bill Starr, at least in part because he's agreed to testify in this case.
I can't respond to that. I'm sorry.
Is he still on administrative leave?
Yes. Anybody else?
I do want to add just a reminder that a year ago, when this first broke, we did the review of all of Logan and August's cases, similar to what we did with Mara and Diaz, and that review was done by DA-elect Zimmer. And we did send out letters a year ago to defendants that possibly could have had their cases impacted by the fact Logan and August had worked on those cases or investigated those cases. And I checked as of yesterday to see if we had received any type of information either from defendants or represented defendants, their attorneys, and anyone challenging any convictions, and no one had. So from that, that's an important piece of it, but it's another piece of these cases where resources are really at a premium, but I did want to pass on that information.
Well, and last thing I want to say, this isn't about theft of marijuana. This is about abuse of power. This is about being in a position of power and abusing it. This is not about theft of marijuana.
After a year-long investigation, can you tell us what you hope happens at the end of all this?
As in any criminal case, that the defendants, Logan and August, are held accountable and that justice is served. That's what I hope happens.
Do you think there are a lot of your deputies potentially on edge with, this notion that more charges could be filed against other deputies in the future?
I think almost every single officer is straight, does their job. They're not the least bit concerned. If there is somebody else in this occupation that is doing this, they ought to be afraid, because we will find it.
So you can't say that there are specific deputies in mind that are being investigated and there's potential for charges to be filed?
No, I cannot say that.
Okay. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks.
And you can pick up a copy of the indictment on the way out. Thank you.
Well done.
We are going to have to get her.
No, you're good. You're good. Absolutely. Okay.
You know, I like that side better.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
in the front, no, it's okay.
You was just a better shot.
I can I have.
I'm on my own, I've got somebody else carrying